What would you give up to save a life? Would you skip out on your daily coffee? Would you break up with your significant other and a lifelong friendship to save a few bucks? Would you stop doing the things that make life worth living? These are some of the sacrifices that Peter Singer's Severe Demand requires of us in the pursuit of helping the impoverished of the world. World hunger and poverty are problems that have plagued mankind for as long as civilization existed. 1 in 11 people in the world survive on just $2.25 a day. The unequal distribution of wealth, resources, and food leaves millions of people around the world in a state of poverty in which the pursuit of life-enhancing goods is an impossibility. Some people like Peter Singer believe that living non-altruistically focused lives is morally wrong, and that those fortunate enough to have abundant resources should reduce themselves to the bare minimum to put those resources towards helping the impoverished. Now, this is called the Singer's Severe Demand. Others, such as Gary Cullity, believe that the severe demand is exactly what it sounds like, severe. Cullity also makes note of several contradictions in Singer's argument, making use of a core philosophical tactic called reductio ad absurdum. Cullity gives his own moderate demand of the degree in which the fortunate should give to the unfortunate without impoverishing themselves in the process. In this video, I will explain Garrett Cullity's rebuttal of Singer's severe demand and explain how Cullity offers a more moderate view of how people should go about giving to the impoverished population of the world. Now, before we get into the substance of Cullity's argument, let's first dive in to how he makes his argument. Cullity uses an ancient philosophical argumentative method called reductio ad absurdum, which translates from Latin to English as reduction to absurdity. The use of reductio ad absurdum dates back 2,400 years ago, when it was first used by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. The goal of the tactic is to establish an argument based on displaying how the opposing argument results in a contradiction. By exposing the contradiction, the argument unravels and appears illogical. Now let's look at Singer's severe demand and how Cullity implements the reductio ad absurdum to refute it. Singer's severe demand dictates that it is morally required of those who are well off to give as much money to the impoverished as they possibly can, and therefore it is more immoral to have a non-altruistically focused life. Now, we're not just talking about spare change or even your holiday bonus. Singer says that you should reduce your lifestyle to the most basic needs and give all the excess funds that would have been spent on better, nicer goods to the poor. The only way you are morally permitted to stop is if there are no more poor people to help, or if you're at a point in when you reduce yourself anymore, it will result in injury to yourself or in falling lower than the impoverished people you're helping. So, what if you refuse to participate in Singer's severe demand? Singer answers that question with the pond analogy. The analogy starts with you're on your way to work in a nice outfit, and on your walk you see a boy drowning in a pond. If you save him, you'll ruin your nice outfit and be late for work. Regardless of the downsides, it would be immoral to let the boy drown. Singer says that the boy represents the poor, and the person going to work represents the developed world. Refusing to participate in Singer's severe demand is the equivalent of letting the boy drown in the pond. Now we will explore how Garrett Cullity, through his use of reductio ad absurdum, exposes supposed contradictions in the severe demand. The first point that Cullity goes after in Singer's claim is that it is morally wrong to pursue a non-altruistically focused life. To be altruistic is to only be concerned with the well-being of others, so to live non-altruistically means to only be concerned with your own self-interest and needs. In order to live altruistically, you must be prepared to give up all life-enhancing goods. Life-enhancing goods are not just material goods, but can come in the form of relationships as well. Your fancy Stanley Cup, your significant other, and even your dog all qualify as life-enhancing goods. Cullity argues that the abandonment of or indefensible substitution of life-enhancing goods makes self-fulfillment impossible, which is damaging to a person. Cullity also notes that people do not donate to the poor because their survival is at risk, but also because the impoverished lack fulfillment in life. This is where Cullity claims the first contradiction lies, which is that people are morally obligated to give up life-enhancing goods and as a result give up leading a fulfilling life in order to help poor people reach a point in which they can lead fulfilling lives. Now let's take a look at Cullity's second use of reductio ad absurdum to refute Singer's claim about living altruistically focused lives. Cullity points out the second contradiction in Singer's argument, which is that well-off people must live altruistically so that the poor can live non-altruistically. One of Singer's key points in the severe demand is that it is immoral to live a non-altruistically focused life. Singer at the same time argues that people must live altruistically so that the poor can live a non-altruistically focused life. Confusing, I know, but bear with me. Cullity then concludes, if the goal of the severe demand is to help poor people live non-altruistically, but living altruistically is morally wrong, then helping someone do something wrong is not a reason for helping them. Cullity makes this concept easier to understand through his gangster analogy. If a gangster is in a shootout and his gun jams, it would be wrong to help him unjam his gun because doing so would allow the gangster to do something that is morally wrong. So we know that Cullity is opposed to the severe demand, but you may be asking, what would Cullity suggest we do instead? Well, lucky for you, Cullity answers this question with his own version of how we should address world hunger and poverty. Cullity is someone who believes in helping the poor, but in a more moderate fashion than people like Singer. Cullity's moderate demand tweaks the severe demand in ways to make it fit Cullity's beliefs. Cullity states that people are morally required to give the impoverished via aid agencies until certain obstacles arise. The first obstacle is that you can stop helping the poor once there are no more poor people left to give to. This is similar to the first exception of Singer's severe demand. The second obstacle in the moderate demand is that you do not have to give up any non-altruistically focused goods so long as those goods are impartially defensible as justification to not save a life that could have been saved at the cost of that life-enhancing good. For a life-enhancing good to be impartially defensible, it must meet two requirements. That is that there are no cheaper alternatives to the good that would provide any less benefit to you. For example, it's not impartially defensible to buy a name brand product when you could have bought a generic version that serves the same purpose, but at a lower price. Life-enhancing goods are not limited to material goods. They also come in the form of relationships and self-fulfillment. Strong relationships can have a direct positive influence on a person's physical health, so giving up those relationships would result in direct harm to a person. Cullity does not expect you to end relationships with people or say give up your dog in the name of helping poor people, because giving up those things would have a negative impact on your well-being. Cullity goes even further by saying that the constant thought and preparedness of abandoning one good for a cheaper alternative that is no worse would in and of itself be detrimental to someone's quality of life. Cullity emphasizes that the constant self-surveillance of oneself is inherently life-impoverishing and that therefore it is excusable under the moderate demand. Cullity instead advises to periodically assess your spending. Ideally, you should reduce your spending and let some time pass and assess how your quality of life has been impacted as a result of your spending habits. If you find your quality of life is poor, you can reduce the amount you give to the poor, but if you find that you have too much excess, then you should be more inclined to donate more. So, in conclusion, Cullity's goal for his refutation of the severe demand is not so much as to destroy it as it is to modify it. Cullity addresses and dismantles some of the contradictions that he claims the severe demand suffers from and rebuilds the moral requirements under some new boundaries. Cullity makes sure to factor in the human desires and making the severe demand much less severe. A key point Cullity is making is that the needs of others are not alone justification for making major life sacrifices and giving to the poor. Instead, a multitude of factors must be considered, and those factors are not limited to what is discussed in Cullity's argument. Now it is time for you to decide. How do your beliefs align with the moderate and severe demand? Do you find yourself agreeing more with Singer or with Cullity? I encourage you to go beyond this video in your search for how we should approach helping the impoverished of the world. Try making a demand model for your own. Thank you for watching, and as always, smash that like button and subscribe for more philosophy.